Hello, my name is Yisbeilis and I want to involve you in a particular chapter of Cuban immigration history. Immigrant meaning is when people move from one place to another. Since 1959, with the arrival of Fidel Castro regime, began a war of Cuban trying to leave the island, looking for living in freedom and democracy. Thousands and thousands of Cubans have lost their lives at the sea trying to get here. Everybody has their own story, and each one more painful than other. But there is something in particular that affected me a lot the first time I heard about a really sad chapter in Cuban immigration history. That was Operation Peter Pan. Operation Peter Pan was the story of 14,000 of Cuban children who between 1960 and 1962 were brought to the United States by a Catholic organization. It was the largest massive exodus of children in the Western Hemisphere. These kids were between the ages of 7 and 16, but the arrival of much younger, like 2 or 5 years, was also common. It were from middle class and lower middle class and include children from all races and religions. Those children were sent from Cuba to Miami after rumors were spread that the new regime will send these children against the wishes of the parents to military school and Soviet labor camps. To encourage Cubans to leave the island, Catholics offered Cuban parents to save their children from communists by sending them with a scholarship to the United States, and then they were caring for the children until the parents could join them. But in 1961, the United States closed its embassy in Cuba and canceled direct flights between the United States and Cuba, between the countries. That was when it became obvious that the children's parents could not come into the United States anytime soon. After that, Catholic groups collect children from refugee camps and disperse them among orphanage and foster families throughout the country. There were refugee camps here in Florida, like Casa Carrion, Kendall Home Children's, Matacumbe, one in Florida City, and one in Opaloca. 5 or 6 years later, when tensions between the countries have decreased, most of the parents found their way to the United States. But by this time, many children have forgotten Spanish and could no longer communicate with them. Others could not recognize their parents and even challenge their identity. It was parents' most painful sacrifice to be separated from the children, trying to save them from the communist dictatorship in making. Also, it was an example of the selfish love of the parents, the generosity of American people, and the resilience of the Peter Pan children. Just right here, I have a couple of pictures related with the Operation Peter Pan that show examples of the refugee camp, children's liberty country. As we can see the pictures, we can imagine how difficult it was. Finally, I want to share with you a fragment of an article that Margarita wrote to Washington Post in February 1998 related to her experience as a Peter Pan children. Margarita wrote, "My own parents sent 4 of their 6 children in September 1961 to Father Brian Walsh camps in Florida. We later spent 4 years in New York State with the foster family when my parents' imminent exit was delayed by the new Cuban regulations. We did not reunite until November 1966 here in Washington. I must still visit my second family several times each year. My children call them Grandma and Grandpa, and their natural parents, Abuelo and Abuela." Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share part of the history of my country with you. It was a pleasure and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Good night.